I'm Sean Hare with the Western Journal, here with Brandon Strzok.
It's pronounced Straka.
Kidding. It just keeps changing. Fake news. I can't keep up. So, Brandon, you are the founder of the Walk Away movement.
Yes.
Which is getting a lot of press, a lot of legs in the past few months. Tell me what that's about, what your hope is to accomplish in that movement.
Sure. So I'm a former liberal. I'm a former Democrat voter my whole adult life, and I walked away from the Democratic Party and the ideology of liberalism. And for me, that happened after 2016, after the election of Donald Trump. I voted for Hillary Clinton. I was devastated that Donald Trump had been elected because I believe the liberal media that had told me that he was a racist and a racist, a bigot, a sexist, and not a Democrat. But, just all of that stuff. And somebody really reached out to me and helped me to understand that the liberal media had been, flipping the script and twisting the narrative and deceiving all of us. And it was very clear and compelling for me. So it sent me on a long journey of research, which ultimately ended with me leaving the Democratic Party. And then I started a campaign encouraging other people to do the same thing because I didn't want to keep this new information I discovered to myself. I wanted to say, look, guys, we need to be, especially if you're gay, if you're black, if you're brown, it's these minority groups that the Democratic Party targets. And I want to encourage all of these people to walk away too.
Yeah. So what message do you find compelling? Obviously, any politician, any kind of lobbyist, they're trying to, how do we convey that message, and what truth is it that is the most compelling? What was it for you personally that you found to be the most compelling why you did in fact walk away?
Compelling for conservatives or against Democrats?
Either one.
Well, okay, that's an interesting question, actually, because it wasn't like I wasn't out of one door and into the next one. There was a period of time when I walked away from the Democratic Party and I felt like a man with no island. I was just sort of like, I'm not a Democrat, but I'm sure as hell not going to become a Republican, so I don't know. And it was really over the course of 2017. I did a lot of research. I listened to a lot of conservative speakers. I read a lot. And what I discovered was that the conservative point of view was not what I had been led to believe for so long that it was, and that I actually held a lot of conservative values my entire life, but I didn't realize it. And then when I started listening to debates between conservatives and liberals, I found so much fallacy with the liberal logic, and conservatism just made so much more sense to me. So
that's because it's true.
right. Because it's, logical and truthful and all of those pesky things that get in the way of liberalism. Yeah. So ultimately I ended up becoming a Republican, and I'm a conservative now. But if you want to talk specific issues, like what it is that the Democrats are doing wrong and what it is, well, for starters, it's all of the identity politics and all of the political correctness and the ways that influences, I think, every issue that they have. Essentially, if you look at anything, whether it's, the calls for socialism or whether it's, socialism essentially is just basically the same thing as affirmative action, right? It's like, everybody deserves a little bit of everything, just no matter what they do or what they contribute. If somebody has too much, that's not fair. If somebody has too little, that's not fair. So we need to evenly distribute everything. Yeah. It's illogical. We know that there are incredibly successful people who are of color. There are incredibly successful people who are women, who are gay. And what it really is we live in a meritocracy society, and that's the way that it should be. And I think that's what conservatism is all about. It's about empowering the individual and saying, look, if you try hard, if you participate and you work hard, you can have a successful life in America, regardless of your skin color, sexual orientation, or gender.
So that's what you just said has been the premise, the foundation of conservatism for years.
No, it hasn't. I just made it up.
You're really smart. I have to admit, really smart. Totally surprised. But it's been arguably the premise for years. Why do you think? What will it take to convince people in those demographics that you just named? What's the obstacle between truth and where they are now?
Right. Well, we know for a fact that the liberal media is not going to let up. In fact, if anything, they're doubling down. They want to constantly convince black people, brown people, and LGBT people that they are in dire danger, that their very lives and their very existence are in danger because people on the right hate them or Republicans don't want them on board. Now, that puts the responsibility and the onus in the hands of those of us on the conservative side, which is where I find myself now. That's why I started this campaign. It's a testimonial campaign People are making videos. People are doing written testimonials, and it's not just for people on the left who are walking away. I've also encouraged people on the right. What I say is it's time for the silent majority to become unsilent, and what that means is you can no longer be passive. You can no longer be complacent. It's time for everybody to stand up and use their voice and say, look, this is the truth about what it means to be a conservative. We're taking the narrative back from the liberal media. We're not all just a bunch of racists and bigots and homophobes and xenophobes and what have you. Yeah. None of that is true. As a matter of fact, I think that Trump supporters and conservatives have been maligned. And so it's really the responsibility now for conservatives to let people of color and let LGBT people and let all people on the left know, look, there is a seat at the table for you here on the right. We want you on the right. We just want you to step away from the victimhood narrative. We want you to step away from the identity politics and embrace your individual identity as an American and come and be a part of it. Enjoy the American experience with the rest of us.
That's great. How would you tell someone to do that? If they said, okay, I'm interested.
I just did. That's how you...
Okay, we're done here. Now, if they listen to this and they say, I'm really interested in what you're saying and I want to take a step, what are you going to point them to? What action step do you want them to take to learn more?
Well, okay, so with the campaign itself, let's start there. So one thing that I'm saying is for people to continue making these testimonials because they're incredibly powerful. Every person who makes a video is touching somebody's life. And I mean, really, I cannot stress that enough. People think, oh, what do I have to say? It's so important. Every person's story is so topical and relevant and important, and it really does touch people. That's one thing that you can do easily from your own home. Everybody has one of these. Point it at your face and tell your story. Use the hashtag walk away. That's number one. Number two, another thing that we at the campaign are going to do, we've created a movie. It's the first of many movies that we will do. It's 35 minutes long. It's available for free on YouTube. It's called The Great Awakening, Breaking the Chains of the Democratic Party. What this is it's a brilliant documentary-style film that somebody named Mike Boss made. He's a Hollywood filmmaker who's in our campaign. He took 20 walkaway testimonials of Black Americans and threaded together a 35-minute documentary-style short film. And what it really is Black Americans telling the story of the Black experience in America in terms of politics, about being targeted by the Democratic Party and being indoctrinated by the Democratic Party, and tells the true history of the KKK and of Planned Parenthood and of faith and religion and how these things play in, and Trump and Obama, all these different things. It's amazing. That's available for people to watch for free on YouTube. Share it with people that you know. But we are actually going to take that film. We're raising money, and we're going to show it in screenings in cities across the country and allow people to come completely for free. And we want to fill the audiences with people of color and have them watch this movie, and we'll assemble a panel afterwards of walkaway conservatives, and we're going to have a very open and honest discussion. Look, why are we continuing to vote the way that we vote? Is this really serving our community? Has the Democratic Party really been honest with us? And we're going to do the same thing with the LGBT community and various communities across the country. We have to actually get in there and have these tough conversations and kind of hit the reset button, you know? Yeah.
Have you felt any resistance within the conservative movement or on the GOP side, or you felt like it's been pretty good for your movement?
It's been amazing. Absolutely none. I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. First of all, people are incredibly supportive of Walkaway in the campaign, which at the end of the day is what it's really all about. But if we're going to talk about just me personally as an individual, I have gotten nothing but love and support from the conservative side. And if I hadn't, I wouldn't be doing this. The last thing in the world I would do is try to encourage LGBT people to come over to the conservative side if I actually thought it was a bunch of homophobic people who wished to do us harm. I would not do that. And that has not been my experience. And furthermore, I mean, how could this be happening right now if that were the case? I mean, how would I be speaking at CPAC? How would so many conservative people be supporting my movement if they hated gay people so much? I've never had anyone come up to me and say, I love Walkaway, I love the movement, but I can't support it because you're a gay guy. Like, that hasn't happened. Wow. You know, so, I mean, it's the very fact that this campaign is thriving and that conservatives are supporting me should send a strong message to anybody watching that the narrative about the homophobic and hateful conservative and Republican is a lie.
So you told a story at the beginning of the interview where you said someone, and I don't have to know their name, but someone talk to you and that begin to change your mind a little bit. If you were coaching other people and to say how to talk to someone, what tips would you say based on the way that person communicated with you and apparently had a deep effect, a profound effect? How would you coach them on how to talk?
That's an amazing question. Honestly,
thank you. That was really, I appreciate it.
He's good. He's good. No, that was a really good question. I'll tell you why. Because so many people reach out to me. See, this again, it's that silent majority thing that drives me crazy. The conservatives will reach out to me and they'll say, I just don't like to engage with liberals because it's just, it just gets so nasty and it's not worth it. I get it. But you know what? People really can change. And I know it's difficult. Do you think in a million years I ever thought that I was going to become a Republican or a conservative and then end up leading this movement and speaking at CPAC and stuff? If you'd got me in a time machine and we went back 2 years ago and I confronted my 2 years ago self, I would think that pod people had stolen my brain and that like a zombie had taken over my body. But
pod people will be next interview.
Pod publicans. Yeah, no, but I mean, people really can change. And so as difficult and maybe uncomfortable as it is to have these conversations, and you know what, maybe 9 times out of 10 you won't be successful, but maybe once out of 10 you'll really touch somebody's heart and change their mind. And I think it's worth it to continue to try and keep having those conversations and just try to be as open and graceful and tolerant, I guess, as one can possibly be, because this woman who ended up changing my life she and I had so many arguments over the years on Facebook. So many. I don't know why I didn't unfriend her. I unfriended so many people. I was just like, conservative, delete. But I didn't delete her. And I don't know why not. But she ended up coming to me in the most delicate fashion, just being like, look, I'm just asking, have you seen this? And she presented me with this video that very clearly showed how the liberal media lies. And it really, really opened my eyes. And, I think it was just the right moment that I was ready to receive that information. So it's just, I guess that's just don't give up. And I get it. I mean, listen, we've all had liberals spit bile in our faces when we're trying to have a conversation with them. I used to be one of them. But you really can change people's lives if, don't give up. Just keep having those conversations.
Do Dems consider you a big threat?
I have to imagine that they do. The question was, do the Dems consider me a big threat? I have to imagine that they do because the Huffington Post and CNN and MSNBC will not have an interview with me. They will not talk to me, but they do talk about the campaign, and they say that it was started by Vladimir Putin, and that this is not a lie. Google it, and that it's a Russian propaganda campaign supported by Russian bots. Look up Walkaway on Huffington Post, CNN, or MSNBC. You'll find that it's Russian propaganda, and yet here I am, a German-Irish boy who started the Walkaway campaign.
And you're from what hometown?
O'Neill, Nebraska.
Classic Russian hotbed.
Hi, Grandma Margaret.
Thank you for your time, Brandon.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Sean here with